Let me ask you something, and I want you to actually think about it before you answer. Have you ever watched a genuinely good man, kind, patient, attentive, someone who would do anything for the woman he loved, slowly watch her pull away? Not because he did anything wrong, not because he was cruel or dishonest or absent, but because he was, if anything, too good, too present, too willing. And the worst part wasn't watching it happen. The worst part was watching him have absolutely no idea why. That question, why does this happen, is one of the most uncomfortable questions in all of human relationships, because the honest answer challenges something most of us were taught to believe from a very young age, that being good is enough, that kindness earns love, that effort, if sufficient, always produces the result you are working toward. Today, we are going to sit with that question honestly, without blaming women, without villainizing good men, just looking at what actually happens and why, and what it tells us about how attraction actually works. So, let's start at the beginning, with the most obvious question. Why would anyone lose interest in someone who treats them well? Because being treated well and feeling attracted are not the same experience, and we spend a remarkable amount of time confusing the two. Think about it this way. If you eat the same meal every day, even a meal you genuinely love, something eventually changes. Not the quality of the meal, your relationship to it. Familiarity, certainty, and predictability all do the same thing over time. They reduce the signal. Attraction, particularly in its early stages, runs partly on novelty, uncertainty, and the feeling that something valuable might not be fully secured. When all of those things disappear, when a person becomes entirely predictable, entirely available, entirely certain, something in the dynamic shifts. That shift is not a character flaw. It is not ingratitude. It is a feature of how the human brain processes value. And it affects both men and women equally. But that sounds like you're saying people should be less kind to keep someone interested. That can't be right. No, that's the misreading that causes the most damage. Being less kind is not the answer. The answer is understanding what kind is actually doing and what it isn't doing. Kindness is not the same as self-erasure. Consideration is not the same as having no preferences of your own. Attentiveness is not the same as orbiting someone else's life so completely that you have lost the gravity of your own. The good man who loses her is rarely losing her because of his kindness. He is losing her because his kindness has become the only thing he has on offer. So, what is actually happening beneath the surface when a woman loses interest in a good man? 3 things, usually all at once, and they tend to build on each other in a way that feels slow and then sudden. The first is the disappearance of the challenge signal, not challenge as in conflict or difficulty, but the natural uncertainty that comes from engaging with someone who has their own direction, their own opinions, their own life that doesn't reorganize itself around yours. When a man makes a woman the center of his entire emotional world, when his mood follows her mood, his plans orbit her availability, his self-worth depends on her response, something registers, not consciously usually, but it registers. And what it registers as is not devotion. It registers as the absence of a person with their own interior life. What's the second thing? The loss of polarity. Attraction between people has a kind of natural tension to it, like opposite poles of a magnet. When one person collapses entirely into the other, that tension disappears. And without tension, there is no pull. This isn't mystical, it's observable. The man who agrees with everything, accommodates everything, never pushes back, has removed the distinction between himself and her. And distinction is the prerequisite for attraction. You cannot be drawn towards something you have completely merged with. And the third, the transfer of emotional labor. When a man makes a woman responsible for his happiness, when her warmth or coldness determines his entire emotional state, she begins to feel it, and what she feels is not love, it's weight. She didn't sign up to be anyone's emotional anchor. And even if she genuinely cares about him, that weight, over time, becomes something she needs relief from. He thought he was giving her everything. He was actually giving her a job she never applied for. Why does this happen specifically to good men? Why not to men who are selfish or careless? Because the behaviors that make a man good in a traditional sense, selflessness, accommodation, emotional availability at all times, are also the behaviors that, taken too far, create the exact dynamic we've been describing. A selfish man inadvertently maintains distance. He has his own agenda. He doesn't reorganize his life around her. He doesn't make her his primary emotional resource. Not because he's emotionally intelligent, often it's the opposite, but because he simply doesn't. And that inadvertent distance creates the very tension that keeps attraction alive. Meanwhile, the good man, who has been told his whole life that caring more, giving more, being more available is the path to love, does exactly that. He gives everything. He makes himself entirely accessible. He eliminates all uncertainty, and then watches, bewildered, as the thing he was trying to secure slips away anyway. That sounds deeply unfair. It is unfair. And also, it's not about fairness. Attraction doesn't run on what you deserve. It runs on what it responds to. And the sooner a good man understands that, the sooner he can stop trying to earn something that isn't earnable and start building something that's genuinely sustainable. The cruelest irony in all of this is that the men who try the hardest to make love work are often the ones it slips away from fastest. Not because of their character, because of their strategy. So what does actually work? What does a good man do differently if he wants to keep her interested? He stays a person. That sounds almost insultingly simple, but it's the whole answer. Staying a person means maintaining your own direction while inviting her into it, not abandoning it for her. It means having opinions you'll actually defend, not positions that soften the moment she raises an eyebrow. It means having a life she is part of, not a life that exists only in relation to her. The men who hold long-term attraction, not through manipulation, not through cruelty, not through carefully managed game playing, are men who remain genuinely interesting, not performing interest, actually having inner lives worth engaging with. But doesn't caring deeply about someone naturally make you more attentive to them, more focused on them? Yes, and that's beautiful. The problem isn't caring deeply. The problem is when caring becomes the substitute for being. When all of who you are gets compressed into how much you feel for her. Care from fullness looks completely different to her than care from emptiness. The man who loves her because she is part of his rich, full, purposeful life feels different than the man who loves her because she is the only thing that makes his life feel worth living. Same emotion, completely different energetic signature. She can tell the difference, even if she can't always name it. Love from a full life and love from an empty one feel completely different to receive. She can feel which one she's getting. Is there something even harder to say here? Something most videos on this topic avoid? Yes. And here it is. Sometimes a good man loses her not because he did anything wrong, but because he was genuinely not the right person for her. And all the self-improvement in the world wouldn't have changed that. We have a tendency in these conversations to frame everything as a problem with a man's behavior. Fix your frame, build your life, stop being needy. And yes, all of that is real and worth working on. But sometimes, two people are simply not the right combination. Her losing interest isn't always a correctable problem. Sometimes, it's just information. And a good man who receives that information, rather than fighting it, rather than trying to win back what was never fully his, and uses it to understand himself better, to build himself more completely, to become the version of himself that shows up differently next time. That man is not losing. That man is learning, faster than most people ever do. That's a difficult reframe. Most true things are. But the men who can hold it, who can say, "This hurt, and I'm going to let it teach me something instead of destroy me," those are the ones who eventually build something real. So let me bring this somewhere practical, because this conversation is only useful if it actually changes something. If you're a good man, genuinely kind, genuinely caring, what specifically changes? 3 things. None of them require you to become someone you're not. First, your life becomes non-negotiable. Not selfish, non-negotiable. Your goals, your friendships, your passions, your personal growth, these don't get sacrificed at the altar of a relationship. They get brought into one. There is a profound difference. Second, your emotional state stops being her responsibility. You become the source of your own stability. When she's distant, you don't chase. When she's cold, you don't panic. Not because you don't care, but because your sense of self doesn't depend on her temperature. Third, you allow space, real space, not performed distance, but the genuine space that comes from having enough in your own life that you're not filling every moment of hers. Space is where longing lives, and longing, more than almost anything else, is what keeps attraction breathing. You don't have to be less good, you have to be more complete. Those are very different things. What's the one thing you'd want a good man to actually carry away from this conversation? That his goodness is not the problem. His goodness is genuinely valuable. The world needs more of it. But goodness without self-respect is not as good as it sounds. Kindness without boundaries is not kindness. It's a kind of self-abandonment that ends up costing both people. The most loving thing a man can do for himself and for the person he's with is to refuse to disappear into the relationship, to remain stubbornly and consistently himself, with his own wants, his own direction, his own quiet refusal to become whoever the situation seems to be asking him to be. That is not selfishness. That is the foundation of a love that actually lasts. The man who keeps himself whole is the man she can actually keep choosing every day and not just at the beginning. Why do women lose interest in good men? Not because they stop being good, but because somewhere along the way they stopped being whole. The challenge signal disappeared, the polarity collapsed, the emotional labor transferred, And all of it happened quietly, gradually, without anyone intending any of it. The answer is not to become harder, colder, or less caring. The answer is to become more complete, more purposeful, more genuinely yourself, in a way that doesn't depend on anyone else's response to feel valid. If this conversation puts something into words that you've been carrying without language for it, that's enough for today. Sit with it. Let it work on you. The understanding always comes before the change. If this is the kind of thinking you want more of, subscribe to Mind Tactics Lab. We're here every week, asking the questions most people walk past. Drop a comment. Have you lived this? As the good man watching it happen, or as the person whose interest slowly faded and you couldn't explain why? Both sides of this story are worth hearing. Take that thought with you, and when it surfaces, and it will, pay attention to what it's telling you.